everyone, nice to see you again. Welcome back to Pacific Front channel. As usual, today we're gonna talk about some stories that happened in the Indo-Pacific region in April 2022. To be honest, this month is really calm in my opinion. I mean, there are no stories that are interesting enough to be presented to you guys, except two stories that happened this week. What stories are that? Let's find out in today's video. On 20 April 2022, the Indonesian president officially launched a holding for the state-owned defense industry called Defense Industry Indonesia, or DefenID for short, at PT PAL facility in Surabaya. This holding is created to make Indonesia more self-reliant on the defense sector, as well as encouraging the domestic defense industry to be more competitive in the world and be able to meet Indonesia's defense needs. The hope is to make DefenID become a top 50 defense company in the world. In his speech, the president requested that the local components contained in each type of defense equipment can be increased from 41% today to more than 50% and maybe 100%. He also emphasized that the launch of this holding must be used as a leaping point to transform and build a strong and modern defense industry ecosystem. By mastering the latest manufacturing technology and components based on dual-use technology and building global partnership as wide as possible with anyone who wants to transfer their technology. Taken from another source, there are 10 management programs that currently become their priorities, which are business development via global partnership, development of MRO business, integration between 3 service branches, digitalization and implementation of ERP or enterprise resource planning, restructuration of financial and liabilities management, streamlining the subsidiaries, shared service implementation for all holding members by doing research and innovation collaboration through Indonesia Defense and Manufacturing Research Institute, optimizing human resources, integrating the ecosystem and supply chain of the defense industry by collaborating with second, third, and fourth suppliers, and increasing local content, especially for leading products. During the event, a cooperation agreement was also signed between DefenID and the Ministry of Defense and DefenID with its global partners. Those agreements include a procurement contract by the Ministry of Defense for 13 GCI radar and its supporting equipment from PT Land Industry, procurement of small caliber munition from Pindad, MRO modernization contract for 12 C-130 with the Indonesian Aerospace, and MRO agreement, performance enhancement, and modernization of 41 naval vessels with PT PAL. While with the global partners, includes head of agreements between PT Land Industry and Thales for defense electronic technology, and MOU for joint production of armored amphibious assault vehicle Zaha between Pindad and FNSS, which I'll be covering in next week's video, so stay tuned. DefenID is a holding of 5 Indonesian state-owned enterprises that will focus on military and defense program. PT Land Industry will act as the holding parent. They will work as the electronic integrator to provide the interoperability between 3 service branches of the Indonesian Armed Forces. Their priorities are to provide MRO for the subsystem and to build network-centric warfare capability, which will be connected with air defense, radar, and underwater sensors. Pindad will focus on land platform, including supplying the weapons and ammunition. Rocket technology and medium tank development are their priorities. The Indonesian Aerospace are working on airborne platform, including fighter jets, drones, and missiles, also MRO services. PT PAL are working on naval platform, including submarine construction and naval MRO. And lastly, PT Dahana are working on explosive material with propellant development and supply as their priorities. I really appreciate the government initiative to make the defense industry holding consisting of the leading defense companies in Indonesia. We already discussed in my Elang Hitam drone video that by collaborating and combining the resources each company has, we can achieve more than we can think we are capable of than by doing it alone. And I hope with this holding, Indonesia can produce more innovative defense equipment not only for local needs, but also for regional or even global markets. There are 1 or 2 things worth noting from the president's speech though. Number 1 is about building global partnership with anyone. In my opinion, it will become a problem for us later, because not every military equipment in the world is compatible with one another, especially if the system is from the other side. For example, let's say we get technology transfer for anti-ship missiles from China or Russia, but the CMS that we use is from Europe. Integrating both systems will be difficult. And I'm pretty sure the European company won't allow their code to be exposed to allow the integration and vice versa. I hope they consider this possibility as well. And the second is, becoming a top 50 defense company in the world is not an easy task. DefenseID cannot do it alone. They need massive commitment from the government, from funding to defense contract, so that they can innovate and produce the equipment that we need and be competitive enough against the long-established world-class defense companies. If the annual budget for the defense sector is not increased, I hope we can reach this target anytime soon. Moving on to the second story, few days ago, China signed a security cooperation agreement with the Solomon Islands, paving the way for China to deploy its troop and military asset in the South Pacific. The signing was confirmed by the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson in a press conference on 19 April. The agreement was signed by China's Foreign Minister and the Solomon Islands Minister of Foreign Affairs and External Trade. The pact has been referred to as an intergovernmental framework agreement on security cooperation. As part of the agreement, China and the Solomon Islands will cooperate in areas such as maintaining social order, protection of the safety of people's life and property, humanitarian assistance, and natural disaster response. An unverified draft of the agreement leaked in late March stipulated that the Solomon Islands may request China to send police, armed police, military personnel, other law enforcement, and armed forces, and that China could send ships for stopover and to replenish supplies. Australia and New Zealand have expressed concern about the agreement, and the US have warned that the move could give China a stronger foothold in the Pacific. But the Solomon Islands Prime Minister said the deal does not include plans for a Chinese military base. The signing of the agreement follows unrest fueled by unemployment and rivalries between islands that broke out in the archipelago in 2021, after the Solomon Islands switched recognition to Beijing from Taiwan in 2019. This battle over tiny island countries in the Pacific has been going on for years between China and Taiwan, which itself is an interesting story to follow. And if you are interested, Wendover Production covered this topic brilliantly. I put the link in the video description below if you want to watch it later. From this agreement, we can learn that no matter where you live, you cannot escape the battle for world domination. The geopolitical dynamics are currently being played in the Pacific, and the balance of power in this region has been disrupted. Indonesia must not ignore this geopolitical development as well, because realize it or not, it is our backyard. All this time, our eastern part of the country has been left open. We don't have any major military installation or put modern military equipment in this area. It is true that in 2018, the Army, Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Air Force have built new main commands there. But that's only on paper. While in reality, most equipment they use were taken from the West. There's no significant improvement in numbers for our fighters, tanks, and other equipment to balance the strength of the armed forces here. Hopefully, we can build up our strength on our eastern border quickly, because I'm afraid this part of the world will only get hotter and hotter. There you have it, Indonesia's defense industry holding named DefenseID and a new security agreement between China and Solomon Islands. What do you think about these stories? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, thank you for watching everyone, and I will see you next time.